we are indeed live.
All right, we're here.
Sadly.
Sadly, it's kind of a, I don't know. It's kind of been a slow week. I see what you mean.
It has been. It has definitely
I
been. Oh, things are messed up on the screen. Stream. Let's fix that.
Oh, are there?
Yeah, there we go. It's been fixed. Oh, just accidentally opened up our Halo Infinite. Wait a second. This is number 8. This isn't number 7. Shit, you're gonna
I'll fix it.
that.
I'll fix it.
Hey.
All right.
Only one person's watching. Hopefully nobody saw the mistake.
That was me.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm watching. Okay. We're just gonna have this picture in the background, because honestly, for the Ustream viewers, because I don't like dealing with copyright, and playing anything on the stream would be copyright. So,
I feel like it'd be fair use because we're discussing it. I'm just saying.
well, it's one thing to just be discussing the movie, because if I play if I just play the movie in the background, without volume, that's still not very transformative. Like, I'd probably have to cover it.
Yeah, but if you played the trailer in the background while we were discussing it, like that's only snippets of it, and it's still transformative.
Yeah, I guess that could work.
And plus, just putting up a random piece of art without permission is a little bit more copyright than
But this is Disney. It's like go up against this artwork, or go up against Disney.
yeah, screw Disney.
Okay, no way. Trailer. Is there?
Sound?
Can I get like a 2-hour repeat version? That's the trailer music. Is
And plus,
anyone...
playing the trailer would give us ideas of
got,
things to talk about.
We got sounds. Okay. Playback speed, annotations. I almost played that with sound. But what I'm wondering is, is there any way that we can do this where it just automatically repeats itself? Over.
I thought isn't there a repeat
option on
setting?
I think I'd have to add it to a playlist.
In order to make it repeat?
Yeah, save. Oh.
Just like make a playlist of nothing but Spiderman No Way Home?
Yeah, create new playlist. I think. I don't know. Boom. Create. And then, let's see. I'm going to. You know what? Fine. That would work. Just whatever. Let's see if we can do playlists. I don't see any. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna move that off screen for now while I go searching through my information for this. Because I'm not actually doxing myself again, or my personal YouTube account.
Good.
Yeah. Spoody. There we go. Spooderman No Way Home. And then we got this. Shuffle playlist, loop playlist. Here we go. And now we can resize this. Okay, but anyway, let's get started. I guess we can just get started talking about it. What were your overall thoughts on the movie?
Great movie.
I thought it was, yeah, it was a really good movie. I wouldn't say it's great, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you know what? They did some stuff that I feel like a lot of movies in the past have tried and
failed.
And they did really good.
Yeah, like one thing, some of the main criticism I've heard for this movie is like, oh, it's pandering fan service, and it's like, is fan service always bad? Because
It's a lot of fan service, though. As I get the point.
there is a lot, but the director did really well with the fan service it had.
Yeah, it was a movie that's basically just fan service, and somehow it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's this very famous meme, like, where the three Spider-Mans are pointing at each other,
Mm-hmm.
and like, they have that a couple times in the movie, and it's not even technically fan service because they didn't directly recreate it, but it just made me giggle, just thinking about the memes. Like as soon as
Like one of the memes I liked is when Tobey Maguire told Andrew Garfield, like, "You're amazing. Admit it. You're amazing," because he goes for the Amazing Spider-Man trilogy, and Andrew Garfield was the only bright light in that doomed, pretty awful series. Sadly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there was a thing where like I don't think they made the Spider-Mans unique enough.
They're all the same.
Yeah, they're all Spider-Man, which I get. You know, there's three.
What
You know,
do you
haha, there's
mean?
three Spider-Mans. But they're almost like, yeah, I feel like there was enough contrast between the extra-dimensional Spider-Man.
There was or there wasn't?
There wasn't. There could have been more. And
What
that's
do
just like
you mean? Wait, I mean, what do you
What do I
mean? Peter Parker in the, at least the Marvel series, is way different than every other Spider-Man out there.
What do you mean?
Just in how he comes, even like the lessons he learns aren't all the same, because like most Spider-Man movies, it's just teaching Spider-Man like, oh, um, with great power comes great responsibility. But
Yeah, don't even get me started on that.
I thought it was a good line, but I will continue.
It was great. It was a great line when it in the first two
Hold on.
Spider-Man trilogy.
But they kind of warp that message a little bit through each of the films, and they add on to it a little bit with each passing one. And like how in the first film, Peter Parker learns that not only with great power comes great responsibility, but being able to, with great power and being able to use that power, like you are almost inclined to help people. And each movie just kind of twists it a little bit, changes that core message a little bit. And I like that. Not to mention he's in like the MCU with all the other adventures, and you get to see the interactions, but and like a Spider-Man with Tony Stark as a dad figure instead of Uncle Ben.
You're right, and he does kind of have a lot of like, as someone who doesn't have a dad, he does kind of have a lot of dad figures.
Mm-hmm. And then,
but
go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You finish what you're saying.
Well, even more of a difference between like Andrew Garfield is more of a smart, quick, witty Spider-Man, who's like a lot more athletic, while the other one, the last one, is I just literally fucking forgot its name, but whatever. From the 2002 series.
Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, Tobey Maguire. He's more like mature and grown, and more like of a mentor Spider-Man figure, as opposed to yeah. So they're all very different.
I get that, but like, you really didn't get a lot of screen time with all of them. Like,
oh yeah, I definitely wanted more screen time. I would agree with that.
I'm usually not like, I usually hate when movies do the thing where like they split it up into two parts. Mm-hmm. But I feel like honestly this could have been a two-parter.
This could have easily been a 4-hour movie, and I almost wish that it had more time, because it could have been better. But with how much they had to juggle, I definitely felt like they did a good job with how much they had to juggle and the time given to them.
Right.
You know.
The thing was like, there was also this thing where like he has these two mentors now,
mm-hmm.
but they come so far at the end of the movie, like he doesn't learn anything from them except for like that one part.
I don't think he's supposed to learn anything from him. I think people forget how far Peter Parker has come. In that these new Spider-Men aren't here to teach him a new lesson, but to almost cement the lessons he has already learned. Because this is the finale. This is the final movie, the final of the trilogy for Spider-Man. And he's already learned, and you generally don't leave for the finale to learn new things. You want to almost cement the lessons that you have already learned. And that was the entire point of this.
Yeah, I guess I see what you mean. But well, no, you're actually wrong there, because
Okay.
because he does learn something. He chooses to give up being Peter Parker to live a life as Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And what he learns the lesson that, or almost the reverse lesson that Green Goblin was trying to prove. He says, I can't be both.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually, as amazing as I think this movie is, it's actually a really crappy lesson, just based on what we see in the movie, because it comes out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, actually, Green Goblin was a great villain in this movie. But there's...
I would have to disagree with you a little bit.
I feel like he doesn't get enough screen time.
Hold on. I agree. He doesn't get enough screen time. And I think that in this movie, that idea that you can't have them separated is not expressed enough. But where I come to disagree with you is that the first two movies had that same lesson in them.
Him trying to juggle both?
Yes.
No, absolutely. And here's a creative decision I would have made if I had made the movie myself.
Mm-hmm.
I would have made it so Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man represents if Peter continues being Spider-Man,
mm-hmm.
but loses his like connection with everybody around him.
Now you're changing the other Spider-Man.
I know. Well, actually not really. Like, if you think about how the trilogies happen in that movie.
I actually haven't seen the Andrew Garfield, his two movies.
Andrew Garfield loses Gwen. Like, people he loved get hurt because they know him and he's Spider-Man.
I saw that scene, the scene where he loses Gwen. And the rhinoceros scene, of course.
Tobey Maguire becomes like Spider-Man, and he can have everything.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I guess we would have to change Tobey Maguire a little bit.
Tobey Maguire does mention that he does get everything to work in the movies, but he also mentions how it took a lot of, like, patience, and it took a lot of work to get to that point.
Well, that's what I really hated about this movie. Because it's trying to prove this lesson that you can't be Spider-Man and have...
I don't think that's the main lesson.
That is exactly...
Oh, wait. Never mind. I take it back. Yeah, that is one of the lessons of this movie.
Well, it's the big... we're already, like, so far deep into spoiler territory. Yeah, it's the big thing, and, like, at the end of the movie...
Oh, before we continue, anyone watching, possible spoilers. Boom. You've been warned. Okay, you may continue.
Yeah, we're way late for that.
We haven't covered anything spoiler-ish.
Yeah, you're right. Not really. You're right. It is the big scene at the end of the movie where, like, Doctor Strange cast a simpler spell this time, but it's just to make everyone forget Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And he has to give up being Peter Parker and having that life so that he can be, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and no one he loves being put in danger again.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about that is that it's almost sort of ruined by having, like, earlier in the movie, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man basically comfort Andrew Garfield by being like, yeah, man, after a while, you can figure it out. You can have it all.
I don't know if that weakens it, because that's not Tobey Maguire's lesson.
That literally is, though.
No, it's not. Tobey Maguire doesn't have a lesson necessarily in this film. His lesson was learned in his own trilogy.
Well,
He's here to help this Peter Parker.
well, you're misunderstanding what I'm saying.
Okay.
He doesn't learn. He teaches a lesson. I didn't say he learned a lesson.
Okay.
He teaches the lesson. He's there as the oldest Spider-Man, like the 2002 Spider-Man, and he's there, and he's a bit older than the other two. Actually, he's pretty old. He's 40 something at this point, right? And Andrew Garfield is what, almost 40?
Andrew Garfield looks pretty good for his age. Let's just say.
You think?
Yeah.
I don't know how old he is. But you have this thing where, like, there's a scene where they're in the lab and they're making the cures, and Andrew Garfield sort of, like, even though he's sort of a wisecracking Spider-Man, he's sort of brooding about how he lost Gwen, and he's like, how do you do this and have the Spider-Man life and the social life? And Tobey Maguire's like, it's hard, but man, you can figure it out. It's possible. And
that is possible, though. If
no, you're right. But I don't think they should have done that.
I don't think mentioning it's a possibility, though, would undermine.
It was kind of a big scene, though, because he's the wise Spider-Man.
It was
right? He's the wise Spider-Man. Scene. He's the wise Spider-Man telling the other two, like, you can have it all. And at the end of the movie, the lesson is, no, you can't. So I'm not saying that necessarily that makes the movie bad, but if I were to make the movie, I would have had the creative decision to make Andrew Garfield Spider-Man the Spider-Man that gave up being Peter Parker, and then Tobey Maguire be the Peter Parker that gave up being Spider-Man. So that Tom Holland is listening to Green Goblin when Green Goblin's telling him, like, hey kid, if you're allowed to have both the humanity and the power, why won't you let us? Why are you trying to steal it from us? Because there is a moment, it's kind of a powerful moment, actually, but there is a moment when Green Goblin is, like, doing his villain monologue. And is telling him that. And you have these role models for him that's, like, proving Green Goblin wrong, almost. But then at the end of the movie, you have to do that thing where you prove that the villain's right, but in, like, a wrong way. So instead of it being like, yeah, you can have it all, Green Goblin, it's like, no, I can't have it all either. And
to be fair, so Green Goblin he was still under the influence of his serum when he said all that.
Well, yeah, but he was right.
He was right in his own twisted way.
No. The logic was totally. I mean, the point he was making wasn't right, but the logic that he was using was absolutely right.
Yes.
The logic was, so in the movie, Spider-Man has decided that if they cure all the villains, then they won't die when they go back to their reality. And one of the problems is the Green Goblin, Osborn has this Green Goblin alter ego almost, like the voices inside his head. So this Green Goblin alter ego is like, how come you're forcing us to make the choice when you get to have it all? And he's right, but he's not right in the way that, like, they should be able to have it all too. He's right in the way that Peter has to give it up. And that is a powerful lesson. But the problem is, in the movie, they give us two models of Peter having it all, and things really aren't that bad. I mean, Andrew Garfield is almost there to be like...
Andrew Garfield lost it all.
He didn't lose it all, though.
He lost Uncle Ben, and he lost Gwen Stacy.
He loses Uncle Ben before he becomes Spider-Man.
Yeah. Still, he loses Uncle Ben. But, also, in that scene, though, Green Goblin is talking about keeping your physical powers, not being able to balance two different lives. He's talking about something different.
No. He's making the point that he's saying, because you, kid, want the power. Okay, no. Here's what's happening in the movie, though. You have to understand.
Okay.
Tom Holland is having this choice where it's like, you got come with me and I'll cure you and you'll be a normal person again.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't have your power anymore. But if you do anything and you try to keep the power, you'll die.
Yeah.
And Green Goblin is making this choice. Like, how come you're the one that has to say that we have to give up our power in order to be normal?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's giving up the powers.
When you're trying to keep everything, keep being Spider-Man, and also live a normal life. Like, the balance doesn't work for Peter either. And I wish I love this movie. I hate that we just got off onto the things that I don't like about it right off the way. But it dampens the lesson, I should say.
I think it just comes to us disagreeing on how much that lesson is influenced by the rest of the movie, because it's like it's a little bit that I would say could dampen that lesson, but that same lesson's also reinforced much stronger in many other places.
I don't know. Yeah, so maybe I dampen the lesson isn't the right word, because I think it's an amazing lesson and like really powerful at the end of the movie that he decides to make that choice.
Yeah, it cost Aunt May.
I feel like
with the monument scene in the first movie with the school bus killing the friend, or in the glasses almost killing the friend in the school bus, and like the Paris with what was that villain's name? The guy who's controlling all the drones from Tony Stark. Or StarCorp, but you know who I mean. Yeah, Mysterio.
Yeah, Mysterio.
Like with him, throughout this whole trilogy, that lesson has been reinforced. So,
absolutely, no, and I know what you mean. So I feel like I'm phrasing it wrong in the sense that I'm saying it dampened the lesson, and
I get what you mean.
I should be saying that when watching the movie, I just saw
so
many places where
it conflicted a little.
No, they really could have made it hit harder, is what I should say, and in like obvious ways. I thought
it does hit hard because Peter's the one who pays the ultimate price at the end of the movie.
But this is a fantastic trilogy. It's actually 8 movies, because you count the Andrew Garfield and the Tobey Maguire.
Oh, how about all the Avengers movies with Spider-Man?
Yeah, but he's really a side character in all those movies.
He still learns with them, but yeah.
You're right. But he's more there to like, he's learning from Tony, but Tony's learning from him. Ooh, it's like a father-son sort of thing.
Yeah. Tony is his Uncle Ben, basically. But they didn't want to include Uncle Ben because then you'll just
Doctor Strange is and Aunt May is his Uncle Ben, and Doctor Strange is his Uncle Ben.
There's all these different parental figures trying to teach him this lesson of power and how to handle it.
Absolutely. And Tobey Maguire
is his Uncle Ben for one scene. Send-off.
Can I say something else I really didn't like?
Yeah.
When Aunt May said, "It's great power. With great power comes great responsibility."
I didn't think that was bad.
Well, I didn't think it was bad, but I remember Uncle Ben saying it in Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And man, did that hit hard. And it even though we had so much more time to get to like Aunt May, it just didn't hit. You know what I mean?
I don't think that Uncle Ben is entitled to that line solely.
Well, I think they could have made it work with Aunt May. I think maybe it was her delivery.
I think the weird part about the only weird part with that line was when the Spider-Men get together and they all beat each other. Like the first thing that they all come together with is the line "With great power comes great responsibility." He's the last thing she told me was "With great power comes great responsibility." I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, we just got that. I get the point. You've finally united all 3 Spider-Men under this point. You don't need to rehash that. But
I don't know why. I have no idea. Honestly, I don't know why it didn't hit as hard when it came from Aunt May.
I thought
it is a great line. But I watched her die and I heard her say it, "With great power there must also come great responsibility." And I cringed at the line. I cringed at it and I was like, it just doesn't work. Maybe it's because
it's the meta. It's the meta around that line. It's the meme and the meta that exists from that because it's such an iconic line.
I actually think it's because... You know why I think it's because?
What?
It might be because just my subconscious, Aunt May's a lot younger. So when old Uncle Ben says it, it sounds like the wise dying words of a wise old man. And instead it's coming from young hot Aunt May. It's who throughout the trilogy isn't really the wisest character.
She is.
So she's not
She's
really
the
built up as.
one. She's the one who, one of his biggest, I guess you could almost say like cheerleaders at telling Peter Parker that he has this ability and he needs to act on it and that it is his responsibility. She is the one consistently through the trilogy telling him, "You need to take responsibility. You need to act."
But that's not wisdom. That's like her being a cheerleader on the sideline. I feel like because it's because Uncle Ben is presented in Spider-Man movies as like
Well,
almost.
they didn't want to incorporate Uncle Ben in this franchise.
I know, and I think that's fine.
It's
like,
a good choice because putting Uncle Ben in the movie, it's like, okay, when is he gonna die? Yeah,
they don't have to.
It would basically be like everyone's just waiting for Uncle Ben to die because it's been done 1,000 times.
Right. And I didn't say they had to. They don't have to.
Yeah, they don't have
Absolutely
to.
Don't have to.
Yeah.
But it's like Uncle Ben is given this like godly. He's put on a mantle status in the franchises.
Yeah.
And we don't have the same like awe towards Aunt May.
Mm.
Aunt May's a great character, and she's Peter's like guardian. She's Peter's mother figure, and he's got a couple father figures.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, man, that line. It's like she cringed.
It's the meta around the line.
I was sitting in the theater. I heard her say
the meta around the line, not how it's used, is what you hate.
Maybe if Tony said it, maybe that would have been something.
I don't think that's Tony's place in this series to tell that line.
No, you're right. It wouldn't have made much sense if he said it either, because he's wisecracking.
Yeah.
I feel like it would have been better if they just didn't use the line at all.
Nah. They could have gotten away without using it, but they used it well. I'm gonna say.
Or if Tobey Maguire said to him, if Tobey Maguire, if they had a bit more screen time and they built him up a bit more as like the wise Spider-Man, and he said it after he got stabbed, or before he got stabbed when he like convinced Peter not to kill Green Goblin.
That would have been a good time to insert that line.
That would have been a good. Yeah, and it would have let Tobey Maguire say it.
I think Aunt May's death scene is the pinnacle for Peter Parker in his motivation in this movie.
Absolutely it is. And she dies protecting him almost.
I think it's also a great time to have that line still said.
And he couldn't protect her.
Yeah. And then the very next line, you get that message I showed you I sent you, or that line wrote down to you in Discord. Because I thought it's such a let me read it actually. Line.
That is a great line.
Yeah, when people realize everywhere Spider-Man goes, chaos and calamity ensues. Everything Spider-Man touches comes to ruin, and we, the innocent, are left to pick up the pieces.
That is a great line. That's from, and also the voice of, I can't remember what the actor's name is, but he plays the Green Goblin, and he's phenomenal. He's got an amazing voice.
That wasn't Green Goblin who said that. That was the newscaster. No, it was the newscaster who said that. Right after Aunt May's death. Yeah, J. Jonah J. From.
Okay. But Green Goblin said something super similar.
I don't remember what he says. He just basically says that like everything you touch comes to ruin. I think.
So he said. Yeah, you're right. I thought that was Green Goblin because he said something super similar.
Oh yeah.
Actually, can I say something about J. Jonah Jameson in this trilogy? He's the worst.
Oh, okay.
Like he's an asshole in the other movies.
He is.
But the thing about him is like in the original trilogy, he thought Spider-Man was a menace, but he made some good points. Like the kind of points that you would make about vigilante justice anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And also he had like scruples as a journalist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was a jerk to Peter, but, like, think about it. When Green Goblin wanted him to give up the, like, name of the person who was taking all the pictures of Spider-Man, he said, he lied. He said no. Or he obfuscated it a little bit. Because, like, he's not a villain.
This is a completely different J. Jonah Jameson, though.
Yeah, he's just a jerk. And even in the video games, like, he's against Spider-Man. He's a bit antagonistic. But he's not, like, an evil, lying person.
Still antagonistic here. I think he's about.
I
He
didn't.
did it.
I didn't say he wasn't antagonistic. Why do you
Okay.
do this? Why do you do this?
I thought you just said he was.
He's always been antagonistic, but
Yeah.
in this trilogy, he's literally a villain. He's the guy that
Okay.
doxes Spider-Man.
Okay.
You
I
know
can
what I
kind of
mean?
see that. Yeah. I think
Like he's the one that puts it out there. He creates the conflict in this
one
movie.
thing I did like about J. Jonas Jameson is like when you first meet him, he's like reporting from a basement, and casually
Yeah,
his studio gets bigger and bigger and more decorated. Like as stuff goes on, like he's making more money off of this. I really like that touch.
I get they were doing like a almost like a commentary on like
Media
something. Yeah, media.
and just rage media and profiting off of it.
Absolutely.
I,
But
I liked that.
I hate when they do that and they change the character for it. Like we have Jonah Jameson, who's a newscaster. So for the new time, we'll make him like a
Mm-hmm.
YouTuber,
To
and then
be
like
fair, what
eventually,
else was he supposed to report on or say about, Spider-Man being at a building blowing up? And
I don't think that's a problem. Like he's always said Spider-Man's a menace,
yeah.
but like, I really like it bothers me that he's a villain in this trilogy because I actually kind of like Jonah Jameson because he legitimately makes good points about vigilante justice, and it's a big part of the Spider-Man like trilogy. Like he's causing all these problems. He tries not to make he's not trying for this destruction to happen, but it happens.
Hmm.
Like the shield falls off the Statue of Liberty. I mean, it was a crappy shield.
I thought it was stupid how they were adding Captain America's shield to the Statue of Liberty.
And so did Jonah J.
Yep.
But, but like, it happens, and J. Jonah Jameson is giving like a loud voice to like the insecurities that Spider-Man has, and he's almost an anti-hero in that way.
Yeah.
Is that internally he's not Captain America.
I think his motivation is just different. He's motivated to be.
It's not his motivation. It's his like attitude. Like he's doing all these heroic actions, but he's not stoic like Batman or Superman. He's not like.
We're comparing Joe Jameson to Batman and Superman.
I'm comparing Spider-Man to Batman and Spider-Man. What are you talking about?
Oh, I thought you were comparing. Hold on, I thought you were comparing Joe Jameson
No,
to.
pay attention.
Okay.
For the love of God, man. You're like.
I'm trying to keep up with you.
You're slowing me down, man. Okay. J. Jonah Jameson represents in like the comics and the original trilogy.
Yeah.
He gives a voice to like Spider-Man's internal insecurities. He gives a voice like almost as a narrator.
Okay.
And he's not a villain because of that. Like these are real problems that like the original Spider-Man comics like took into account. Like Spider-Man's a kid. And he's not really like stoic or heroic like Superman is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's not larger than life.
Mm-hmm.
So J. Jonah Jameson actually serves a narrative purpose other than to just be the jerk who doesn't like Spider-Man, which I feel like they reduced him to that in this trilogy.
Okay. Alright, I get what you mean then. I think it's just a different take on him. Like,
absolutely,
I don't know if it makes the film better or worse having him that way.
He has to be. He has to be that way for the film to happen. So I'm not that mad about it.
Yeah, it's like it's a creative style. It's a stylistic choice. I don't think it's made better or worse.
Why did it happen? Because the film had to happen. So I don't hate it.
Yeah,
it's justified.
So I thought one of my complaints about the movie mainly would be the pacing and the world building that this introduces to the MCU.
I agree with you for the pacing. The world building, we talked about this a little bit. I don't really get what you mean by that. But let's start with the pacing.
Okay, so
this could have easily been 2 movies or a full series.
This is one movie. It could have been a longer movie. It should have been. It could have been a little bit longer. They could have added another half hour.
I know you like 4-hour Lord of the Rings movies, but
It doesn't matter how long the movie is. It's how well you use your time.
All right, man. I mean, people don't like sitting in the theater for 4 hours, though.
It's not about like what you or it's about what you do with the time that is given to you. That is said by
Absolutely.
Gandalf.
By Gandalf. No, you're right. You're right. We just add another half hour, and that half hour could have been used in the beginning to like spread out the time between
Yeah.
everyone knowing he's Peter Parker to Doctor Strange casting the spell.
Yes. Because the first half hour was so rushed.
Yeah, put 15 minutes in the first half hour, and then 15 minutes for
maybe
the build-up of
the Spider-Man
and
the villains. Spider-Man. Yeah, and the villains too, because they did a good.
They did a good job with the villains.
They did, especially with how getting to see each villain take their like how they became villains or their goals as villains into like almost account and act accordingly. Like Doc Ock wants to be cured and wants the others to be cured because his power is actually like evil that he doesn't want to be doing. While Green Goblin, on the other hand, and some of the other villains, like Sandman just wants to get home, and he sees Peter Parker as slowing this down because he's kind of wasting time, which he's trying his best. But and then Green Goblin's like, why would you want to take this from me? And they're all in character, and it's so good.
I like Lizard's voice. He has a lot of good one-liners throughout the movie.
He does.
But I feel like he doesn't do much.
One villain, Electro, I think he's very overpowered.
They could have extended Lizard's chase of MJ and Ned. They could have made it like a bit of a hide-and-seek sort of thing. Maybe. Through the portal. And that way, because the problem was they had Electro and Sandman as a giant cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Like fighting the Spider-Man. And then, because Sandman is like this, he's a massive villain.
He was a big problem.
Big, he's everywhere at once.
Yeah.
And Electro is powered up by an arc reactor. He is the biggest problem.
My problems with the fight is how
there's a lot of
broken Electro and Sandman are.
There's a lot of good visuals in that fight, actually.
There are.
Because first of all, they made Electro look awesome. Like you see these flashes of his comic book costume,
mm-hmm.
which I think is kind of cool. And then you also get the contrast between Electro's super light, it keeps flashing, and then he gets engulfed by Sandman, like the dust cloud.
Mm-hmm.
It just comes around him,
mm-hmm.
and you get these amazing visuals, and then you just have the Lizard.
I will agree. I wanted a little bit more from Lizard,
and I feel like he doesn't shine next to Electro and Sandman, but he definitely. I think if I had to choose a way for him to do more, when he starts chasing down Ned and MJ,
mm-hmm.
I would have just extended that into a longer hide-and-seek sort of thing. Where he goes to the portal and he's looking for them.
Honestly, but that's whatever, though.
And you also get, a little bit of his voice. I know, I'm just throwing out ideas on how to use your time.
Again, my big problem was, as nice as the fights looked, when you're watching the fight, what were Sandman and Electro doing the whole time? It's like you watch Electro and he's, antagonistic. But he just hits you with some electricity. He just hit the Spider-Man with electricity here and there a little bit. And mostly, he spent more time teleporting than doing anything else. He's like, oh, I'm gonna chase ya. And he's just kind of teleporting here and there. And it's kind of do something. Yeah, you're really overpowered. Cool, yeah, you're like background image moving about. And then Sandman could have ended that whole thing pretty quickly. But he's like, no, I'm a sandstorm swirling around the monument so nobody can see us. You can't see a thing. And it's kind of like, okay, Sandman, cool. Could have done some more, but whatever.
Well, you're right. The fight definitely wasn't very complex.
Yeah, they could have done more with the fight. But it still looked really nice. It looked good. It looked really good.
They also kind of gave Doctor Strange the shaft in this movie.
He did.
First of all, Doctor Strange spent weeks learning how to open a portal.
No.
And Ned just kind of does it.
No, actually, no. Doctor Strange does not spend weeks. It took him minutes. Not even minutes. It took him seconds.
Seconds of the movie. No, it didn't.
Yeah, it did. So
No, in
Doctor
the movie,
Strange in
the
his
first thing
own
he tries
movie,
to learn is to open up a portal, and he
yeah,
can't do it.
he
So
can't do it.
they send him.
He gets teleported to the Himalayas, and because it's not a matter of you being able learning how to open a portal, it's a matter of you believing in opening the portal.
First of all, they never said that, so I don't know where you're getting this from.
I believe that was mentioned in the first movie. You just gotta. It's like it's more about the sling ring and you having it on. The sling ring
I
does
don't.
like all the magic. You just gotta do the magic. Believe, like, be like, hey, I'ma do the magics.
I'm sure there's a mental component to it,
Yeah, and that
but
mental component is doing
magic
that.
magic in this movie isn't just about you thinking that you can do the magic.
It
Oh, like
shouldn't
maybe
be.
the basic magic is,
It should be. It
and
should be harder than
maybe
that.
the portals are like the most overpowered cantrip in the world.
Bad world building.
I I
That
don't think so.
that is bad world building.
How is that bad world building?
Because that leads back to other problems in other movies where portals were so simple to use and they could have solved so many other situations and scenarios with Doctor Strange, like with especially
Like
through the Avengers movies with Thanos.
you're saying he should have just cut off Thanos' arm?
Yeah, that's one of many, but
Okay, so here, first of all, it like if you're like making assumptions and then you're saying because of these assumptions that I'm making the world building is bad. I mean, that's fair, but I'm not going to appreciate it.
yeah,
So,
it's fair.
I would say so you're going to come to me and you're going to be like, "How come Doctor Strange didn't just cut off the gauntlet?" And I'll be like, "Well, maybe the portals shut almost like an electric door, and Thanos is strong enough to just like pull his arm out. Like it doesn't just cut it off."
It does. It is shown in Infinity War that it cuts stuff off.
How do you know there's not like a force component to it?
Because they
How
do that
the
with the
portals
aliens.
aren't physical?
And
I never. Hold on. No, you're making assumptions about what I'm saying now. Again,
hold on. I'm also explaining
No.
my view on this.
I absolutely understand your view. Okay, you can understand it fully. I remember because they cut in half some aliens in.
And then
Infinity
Doctor
War.
Strange also spends like a good hour or so, however long it was, looking to the future, seeing all possibilities.
Right.
And so I think that is definitely within the laws established within this universe that it is possible that you can cut off Thanos' arm, especially if Thor's new axe can just cut through. I think the portal can too. Magical.
I counter this by saying they never directly say that portals just slice things open cleanly. Yeah. Like a sword can cut someone's hand off.
Yep.
But you have to like get enough force to do it. So maybe portals are actually almost physical things, and Thanos, being an incredibly powerful being, with the Infinity Stones would just like it wouldn't even be worth trying. It'd be like trying to cut his hand off with a butter knife. Now I'm not that they didn't say that.
Yeah.
But that's a very easy like solution.
You can assume it either way, and it's fortunately something like left up for debate. So it's like, okay, how do these portals work?
Another thing, why didn't Iron Man just try to cut off Thanos' gauntlet with a butter knife? Well, I don't know. I guess it's possible if you work hard enough. But maybe it's not worth trying.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying though, because Thanos. The thing about Thanos is that in the comics he's supposed to be an incredibly powerful being even without the gauntlet, but in the movie you only really see him with Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
So you don't get a good gauge of like his raw power.
Mm-hmm.
Though. To be fair, he does in Endgame, he takes on Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America without the stones.
Yeah, he does. The power scale is a little bit out of whack.
It's wonky.
It is wonky, and that's a problem with the MCU. Now, is it a problem that you can expect to happen? Yes, with a universe this big, directed by so many different people, stories coming and going over the years, you can definitely expect that. But it's still a problem.
I think the easiest way to solve that problem is just by saying, like, almost like rock, paper, scissors.
Unfortunately,
listen, in some scenarios, some people are going to have the advantage, and in other scenarios, other people are going to have the advantage. And unfortunately,
because that is a consistent issue in the MCU, the fact Doctor Strange is in this movie brings the problem of magic into this universe, in this movie. And the problems with inconsistency in magic. and what are its limits? How does it work? That still shows through.
Well, we were arguing about this earlier, but I would argue that really, if you keep it vague enough, like there are some things where it's like, if you introduce like the audience, almost, I don't know, is deserving of or is entitled to an explanation. Like, I don't know, I can't think of an example right now, but if like it's so world breaking, like if someday they just introduce time spells that don't have anything to do with the time stones, then you'll be like, why didn't he use that earlier? Because that would have had directly impacted the second movie.
In the first Doctor Strange movie, I think it may have been the first Doctor Strange movie, didn't they say, though, that there aren't infinite multiverses? Because I know that the one, I think it is the first Doctor Strange, but I know in one of the Avengers movies, or not Avengers, but the MCU movies, they directly say there isn't multiple or infinite multiverses. But then in like Loki and now they're saying that there is. And it's a huge issue about confliction.
I don't know. I don't remember that.
Okay.
And it, like, unless that was said by God, it's always possible someone was wrong.
I believe it was said by the Ancient One.
The Ancient One? Okay, that's a pretty good source. But,
I believe.
You know, maybe the Ancient One is just incorrect.
They might be. It's one of those things where it's like, it's just inconsistent with itself. Because unfortunately, there's a lot of inconsistency in the MCU, especially with Loki. Because why did the TVA get involved? The multiverses were ripping apart. Why didn't the TVA get involved in this?
Because the TVA is in a multiverse. There's layers of multiverses. Boom, solution.
But they still got involved with Loki, who was not just in a multiverse.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then they didn't get involved with Gamora.
I think they... What do you mean, Gamora?
At the end of Infinity War, Gamora switches universes.
So the way they're going to have to explain this is... so Loki escapes at the beginning of Endgame.
He does.
The TVA has to crumble before any of the multiverse shenanigans start.
I hate the TVA. I'm just saying, I hate how it's used in this MCU. It's like the Loki of his own universe gets given the Tesseract of his own universe by the Avengers messing with time. And so the TVA gets involved, and Loki gets in trouble for that.
But the reason is because he did something he wasn't supposed to.
Oh,
It doesn't matter if someone like coerced him to or influenced him. He just wasn't supposed to be there.
He was supposed to be there. He was there in all the timelines that he was there, because he was being arrested. He was being.
He got an opportunity he got an opportunity that he didn't in the other timelines, and it might not have been his fault. You're right.
But there's an infinite number of timelines. Of course, there were times where he got that.
Well, the TVA is working to destroy all the ones that don't lead to Kang becoming, God.
Isn't he already God, though?
Yeah, but he's God in a bajillion years, so they have to kill all the timelines where he's not. That way, it's sure to happen.
It's fucked.
I don't think it's. I hear a lot of people talking about how messed up it is.
It is.
It makes perfect sense to me.
No, it does. It does not.
It absolutely does.
I hate this.
So, one of the things is that they said is that the little paperclip guy, or was it a paperclip or the clock girl? They were like, but what the clock girl said was inconsistent. I was like, yeah, the clock girl's a propagandist. It doesn't need to be true. Like, what are you talking about?
I'm not familiar with that argument.
So
my argument is self-contained.
I was watching. It was Shadiversity.
Oh.
The thing was like.
I like Shadiversity.
I liked him too.
Stuff.
It really bugged me when he was like, that you see this inconsistency with what the clock said, and I was just like, the clock's a lying bit. I don't know what you mean.
I will agree, Shad sometimes has some hot takes on movies, and I don't agree with all of them. but I still think that the TVA is messed up.
Yeah, I would say Loki season 2, the TVA has to crumble because in order for the TVA not to get involved with Spider-Man No Way Home, the TVA can't be around anymore.
It can't.
So, but maybe that's what they're
There's
going
so
towards,
many
man.
instances already where like the multiverse was messed with and timelines were tampered with, and the TVA just didn't get involved. It's like
Yeah, but only after Endgame.
only after.
Yeah,
Uncle
so
Ben
if
was
the
doomed
TVA
from the beginning because
if
he
if
was.
if the TVA is like destroyed before that, then we don't have a problem.
If Uncle Ben survived his gunshot, he would have been brought to the TVA and fucking melted.
Uncle Ben, you're supposed to die. He's like, what?
You were supposed to die, so that you're getting
Also,
fucking melted.
Also, you said that if you want great power, you must accept great responsibility. It's supposed to be the other way around. So you gotta die.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me and something I said. No.
Oh no,
Yeah,
no, no, no.
yeah. With Uncle Ben, it's like, goddamn.
Sorry, Uncle Ben. you gotta die.
Things now back on things I think that I did like about this movie.
They should hire me as their canon consister because I'm coming up with all sorts of creative solutions. They should hire me as like the guy that straightens things out.
I really like how
They'll
Spider-Man.
be like, this character said that, and I'll be like, that character was wrong.
I really like how at the end, it's like he finds MJ and Ned again, but he chooses not to tell them anything.
Yeah, because he sees they're happy, they got into college.
Yeah, that their life is good without Spider-Man.
Absolutely. No, you're right, and he chooses to be Spider-Man. Well, their life is good without Peter Parker, so I wonder if they have the memory of working with Spider-Man.
They do, because people remember Spider-Man. They don't remember that Peter Parker. They don't remember Peter Parker. He's chosen to be Spider-Man. The memory of Spider-Man. Yeah.
That's also bizarre to me. Like, so MJ and Ned have them. So he could have just been like, "Hey guys, I'm Spider-Man," and they would have been like, "Oh, I remember you."
So that's one of my things about the spell. Is it's like, yeah, Spider-Man.
Yeah, we don't exactly
everyone
know how it works.
Forgot he's Spider-Man, but it's like, what about all these news channels where like they look at yesterday's script, Peter Parker was Spider-Man, and it's like, and then that other kid or that guy, what was Happy? He knows Aunt May, and he's like, I knew Aunt May through Spider-Man, and it's
he remembers. Well, he remembers dating Aunt May.
Yeah.
And he remembers that they both knew Spider-Man, but he doesn't remember that Aunt May had a nephew that she raised called Peter Parker.
But he also, he knows her as Aunt May.
He didn't say Aunt May.
He does in other films. In other films, he does. He refers to her as Aunt May.
Maybe he just thinks that's her nickname now. Like, he just remembers her as Aunt May.
And then he knows he knows, hey, I know Aunt May, quote, quote, Aunt May, through Spider-Man. Therefore, maybe put two and two together. And it's like,
well, Peter says, I know Aunt May through Spider-Man, so
yeah,
maybe Happy just assumes, like, he's part of this.
Mm-hmm. It's still one of those things where it's like, people might be able to actually just put their memories together and fill in the pieces that, like, wait a second.
They won't remember the name Peter Parker, but they'll remember a whole bunch, or the face, but they'll remember a whole bunch of stuff that goes...
Yeah, that goes with him. And it's like, wait a second, why is this? And then people start realizing, oh, wait.
And you know what, Jay?
Yeah?
I think in future movies, maybe somebody will.
Yeah.
Cough, cough, Dr. Doom played by me.
And that'd
be amazing. That'd be a great Dr. Doom.
That is another issue with world building and how that spell works in Spider-Man No Way Home.
I don't... That's not a world building problem.
I think
they're quite vague with it because there's no memory left of who Peter Parker is.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see any like logical way for the spell to like erase like paper things. But you don't know, like, magic is magic. We don't know how it works either. So maybe the spell considers digital memory like artificial intelligence because magic is weird and it corrupts all the file
Isn't,
that has
at
to
the
do
end of
anything
the
with Peter
day,
Parker.
artificial intelligence still technically written down, just in a different format? Because
Yeah, but you could say the same thing for the electrical signals in your brain. Like, are you really alive, or are you just a series of electrical signals? Do you really want to think about that?
no,
I don't.
okay, yeah. Well, let's not try to get to the bottom of that conversation.
Magic is weird. People don't remember Peter Parker.
Yeah, which unfortunately is, in,
That also means nobody remembers how
just
J.
gotta
Jonah
say.
Jameson got famous.
No,
He
everyone
just
knows
got
he got
famous.
famous through Spider-Man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, through Spider-Man.
Yeah, because he got famous through Spider-Man.
Yeah, but as the official canon organizer for Marvel,
Inconsistency.
I make things consistent is what I do. I say magic is weird, digital memories count as regular memories.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be my official slogan. Magic is weird.
Another thing I really liked was the MJ getting saved by Andrew
Andrew
Garfield.
Garfield,
Yeah,
and he starts to cry.
that was
That
great.
that got me. That got me way more than Aunt May's death.
Oh yeah, Andrew Garfield stole this show.
Absolutely, he did.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't expecting it. Tobey Maguire was actually kind of awkward in the movie.
He was.
Andrew Garfield was just fantastic.
I
I
mean,
love the
it's
scene
known that
where,
all three of them are great actors.
yeah, absolutely. I want to watch a different movie where they're all in it as like co-starring,
Mhm.
but there are no Spider-Man references. It's like not addressing the elephant in the room.
Yes.
They're all siblings in this movie. Like we just don't address the elephant in the room at all.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's like, oh, like, and then we almost dance around referencing it.
Yeah. I know everyone was expecting that scene to turn out that way based off of the trailers and the teasers. And everyone's like, oh my god, it's going to be so bad because we all know what's coming. But it still doesn't take away from it as part of the movie and as part of the story.
I avoided a lot of the gossip around this movie.
I did too, but I also knew that all the Spider-Men were going to be there. I
Yeah,
did
I
know
heard all
that
the
much.
rumors of the Spider-Man and all the villains.
Mhm.
I
That's
didn't,
all I knew.
but there's a lot of stuff that my brother said that he like saw through TikTok, and I'm just glad I don't have TikTok,
Same.
so I don't have everything spoiled for me ahead of time.
Yeah, you don't need TikTok.
We don't need.
No,
TikTok.
nobody needs TikTok. It's
Olivia will download our stuff on TikTok.
Oh,
We don't need to ever. We don't need to ever go around TikTok.
Yeah, she's responsible for all this, right, Olivia? If you're out there, if you're hearing this, you're a manager. You're
She's
responsible for this. Wait, do we fire her then?
Oh no, she has to. She has to listen. Part of her contract.
Yeah. Any other big things that you want to talk about with this movie?
There was something I can't remember it right now. God, I don't know what happened. Oh, Doctor Strange gets beat by Spider-Man in a fight like 5 minutes into the movie, and we're actually like in the trailer we're watching right now. We're seeing a lot of those clips.
Yeah, it wasn't 5 minutes in. It was like an hour in.
Oh, I guess you're right. It was kind of a long way in.
Yeah, I really liked that fight.
I really like that fight, and you can. I mean, it's pretty easy to justify. You say Strange was using kid gloves on Spider-Man, and he also kind of underestimated him.
Yeah.
Like he was kind of cocky when fighting Spider-Man,
and he didn't want to hurt him, but realistically,
yeah, like obviously, if they were going all out, then Strange would just chop him in half with a portal.
Yes, and Strange. I don't think if Strange really wanted to win there, he could have.
I don't. I really think he just. If we're gonna justify this, we say
Strange also doesn't have the time stone. Remember that.
Well, he's not. He like, you saw how like crazy magic he is.
He has crazy magic.
He's absolutely crazy magic. He doesn't need the time stone.
Yeah.
He is kind of crazy.
But he's not as strong without the time stone.
Well, no, because it's an infinity stone. But
yeah.
But the time stone doesn't just give him a straight power up. He's like, he uses a lot of low level spells when fighting,
Hmm.
which I think is kind of weird.
Yeah, I liked how simple a lot of his spells were, used in creative ways.
He uses, I mean, for like a few scenes, he uses more complex spells.
Like the
But
forgetfulness spell.
what do you mean? Oh yeah. Just the spell that makes everybody forget. Yeah.
Yeah, fuck that spell.
Yeah. I don't like the idea of it. He just roofied the entire world. Roofied the entire world of Peter Parker.
Yeah.
But a lot of the spells he uses teleport a lot, and he flies with the cloak a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And what else does he do? He uses like his whip to like bind things a lot, and that's really it.
Yeah. Pretty simple. I like it. I do definitely think, although they definitely dumbed down Doctor Strange in the first half of this movie.
I don't know if they dumbed him down, but you remember Doctor
so
Strange
reckless in the first part.
What do you mean by that?
With just the willingness to do the spell with Peter Parker. He's never like, okay, Peter Parker, go home. Do you want to think about this? Okay, Peter Parker, I'm able to write exceptions in the spell. Anyone you want me to keep in there. Peter Parker, this, that. Like, instead he just starts it. And when he starts saying, of course, Peter Parker, after it's already started, is going to be like, wait, I don't want everyone to forget. Like,
well, here's the thing. Like, you saw this spell, it's powerful, but it seems like they use it a lot. Like,
it's shown only once.
You saw a scene where, like, he was like, remember blah 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 to what's the guy's name, Wu, and Wu was like, no.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it seems like whenever they cast the spell, they don't like make it so they remember.
Yeah, but I mean, that's still only one reference. And he could have been making that up.
No, the way he said it. No, the way he's. I guess he could have made it up, but the way he said it was like, we've used the spell for a lot less than the kid having to go to college.
Yes.
So it's like it doesn't seem like that big of a deal to him. He's just like, everyone forgets you're Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And then Peter keeps being like, well, I want my girlfriend to remember, and he's in the middle of casting a spell. So
it's stupid of Doctor Strange not going over this with Spider-Man before jumping into casting the spell, and it's stupid of Spider-Man after Doctor Strange tells him, you're gonna mess up the spell, I need you to be quiet, for him to keep talking.
Well, yeah, it was stupid of Peter. Peter is a reckless kid.
Yeah, and it's also reckless of Strange to allow this to happen.
I think when Strange is focused on a spell, he's not exactly at full reasoning ability.
But then he also got to that point.
If I asked you to solve an algebra equation while you were trying to make 7 cappuccinos, how well would you think we would do on an algebra
equation? I'm trying to defuse a bomb, and you're there reading me a manual about defusing a bomb as I'm trying to defuse a bomb, how helpful is that going to be?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Because I'm not going to be able to listen to you necessarily reading to me about defusing bombs when I'm trying to defuse a bomb. I'm going to be fully focused on defusing the bomb.
So you agree with me?
Kinda.
God damn it, why do you do this?
Because it's kind of like, well, I think it proves my point. It's like Doctor Strange, it's like, why would you start the situation? Like, why not go over it first?
Well, just because the way they use the spells previously, it's like they can do exceptions, but just for what they usually do it for, it seems unnecessary for them to do exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
So when Peter was like, Peter's a kid, and Peter's like, this is my last resort, he's like, he doesn't consider the people he wants exceptions for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Until the very last moment. So Peter's desperate at this point, but he's also like, there's people in my life that I want to remember.
Yeah, and I would have been smarter of Peter to, kind of say that beforehand.
I don't know if Peter, like, I feel like Peter just assumed that it would
really
erase.
Weird, right? I think we can both agree it's weird that's how that interaction works.
It's weird. It's explainable.
It needs to happen for the movie to progress.
It needs to happen. It's explainable. It's not that bad.
But then once the movie gets going, they do a great job though with all the characters, minus
Yeah.
Strange, who I think
No,
continues
because
to be the only character
I think at
problem.
the end, I wish when Strange came back, he just, because I feel like he came back after were done with all the villains.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
Which is actually like, because we knew that Strange, if he really took his gloves off, would be able to like win a fight against all these villains.
Yeah. Easily.
So I wish, yeah. So they really implied that Strange was like.
Wasn't Strange gonna kill all the villains too, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very out of character for him.
I don't know. He wasn't gonna kill them. He was gonna send them back to their reality.
Oh.
Remember, he wanted to kidnap. He wanted to imprison them before he sent everyone back first.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So no, he wasn't gonna kill everybody, but he was gonna let them die.
Yeah.
Which is in character for Strange. He's like, it's not our universe's problem.
I don't think I'm not educated enough or remember enough of the MCU necessarily for me to assess that.
Well, it's not exactly like Strange as Captain America.
Yeah. I'm more familiar with Captain America and like Iron Man and stuff that they would choose.
He's a bit more disconnected than them.
Mm-hmm. But I think Strange is also like a very responsible, very calculated figure in the MCU.
Well, you also have to remember that Strange, like, they sat back during the Battle of New York.
Yes. Because they didn't exist in the MCU yet, sadly, which I think is very...
Well, but the explanation for that is...
They didn't leave the building. They just defended the building.
It was a world... No, that's not what I mean.
That gets shown in Infinity War. Or no, Endgame. Endgame. It gets shown in Endgame.
You understand that's not what I mean, though. The explanation for that is...
Mm-hmm. They didn't care.
It's a world... Why do you keep interrupting me? Clearly, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
Dude, the explanation for that... I've been saying the same thing over and over again. It's a worldly threat.
Yes.
This is a threat of flesh and blood to flesh and blood. There's nothing mystical about it.
Yes.
And therefore, it's not their business. And it didn't actually threaten to blow up the world. Loki just wanted to rule the world.
Yes.
Big difference.
Yes. And I still agree with you.
This is someone else's problem.
Yes. What I was saying was that it's reinforced poorly, I think, but yet still reinforced in Infinity War when they're only protecting their building or the Time Stone.
Yep.
And it is also reinforced. Fuck, what was that other one? I just forgot. But
Endgame?
Yes. I can't remember the other moment where like they chose to sit back and kind of only defend it. Oh no, yeah, Endgame with Tony Stark on the ship, where he says if it comes between you and the stone, I'm going to choose the stone.
Yep. So Strange is a little bit more of a pragmatist in the series.
Yes.
So I think that's totally in character for him.
But I also think he goes on the journey through Endgame where he learns to trust other people and he learns to become more calculated and less reckless.
Well, kinda. But like, think about in this movie, once Strange sees how good, Tom Holland did curing these guys, he's still a super pragmatist. So if he really, even though he does kind of like have a soft spot for Peter,
he's like, let's get him home. This cannot continue.
Yeah, it's sort of implied like if Strange had believed in Peter a bit more, he would have sided with him. But he was just like, this is a bit too dangerous. We need to get rid of these people.
Yeah.
But yeah, Peter was perfectly capable. By the way, Peter could have found Strange after and been like, hey, I'm Spider-Man.
Yeah, he could have done the same thing with Mary Jane.
Mary Jane's a bit different because she's a civilian.
I guess. Yeah, that was the plan. It's gonna be have something written down. Why not just give it something written to her before you
Also, that note at the very end was kind of stupid.
It was.
Hi, my name is Peter Parker. You don't know me, but I'm Spider-Man.
I'm your boyfriend.
I'm your boyfriend. I know you don't know that. And Ned, I'm your best friend.
Yeah.
I really was trying to figure out what he was planning on saying, but it just didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, because it's like one of those things. It's like they've completely forgotten about you. You are a stranger to them.
Yeah.
Think about it from their perspective.
He shouldn't have said, "Hi, my name is Peter Parker." He should have just been like, "I'm Spider-Man. Remember me?"
Yeah. Oh shit! What's the name of that? Like, I don't want to. It's like a parasocial relationship almost.
What do you mean by that? A parasocial relationship?
It's like the one-way relationship like people sometimes get with content creators or with like
Uh,
icons where it's like, hey, I know you, you don't know me, but like you're infatuated.
Codependency? I don't
Yeah,
know.
kind of something like that. Where it's like I'm infatuated with you. I know everything about you. Oh my god, I'm your biggest fan. But to the person who's like being fanned over, they're like, I hello there, and it's really awkward.
It's like I don't know you.
Yeah,
Well, you're right, but that's super weird, by the way,
it is.
because
It's kind
it's
of like
actually not.
that.
It's not the person's fault even, because if you think about it, like the people that you listen to on a day, like if you
Yeah,
listen to a podcast or something
like
like that,
late for supper.
then like Late for Supper, the best podcast in the world,
Yes.
then you are literally like spending hours with these people every day or every week,
Hmm.
like, and you have a good idea of who they are, and they have no idea who you are.
It's a good thing to
So
be aware about.
we have this new form of communication that like we've never had before, where
Yes.
you know people that don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
You have an eye like, and you can't keep up a character for too long when doing a podcast like this.
Yeah, like I've
Eventually,
already
you have
doxed myself.
to. Jay, yeah. Man, it's not too long before I docked myself.
You're lucky.
Yeah,
You're not the
it is.
one who's running the computer.
I am lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like this thing where like there is a relationship there. It is a real like.
Is a
I mean, it's one way.
Yeah, it's a one-way relationship. It's unhealthy to obsess over it, and it's something that that people should be aware and conscious of.
But if you're gonna pretend like you don't like you, they don't know you, but you do know that person,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
like maybe you don't know everything about them, but it is like it's not the same as like getting obsessed with a music star that you listen to their music a lot. Like
Yeah.
you're listening to these people, and you're like, and it's weird to be obsessed. But even if you're not obsessed, you still have like that, would you say, parasocial relationship?
Mm-hmm.
Where like if you ran into like somebody, you'd be like, "Oh, hey man, I listen to your podcast. I'm a big fan."
There's a
Hey,
difference though.
hey Jay, I listen to your podcast. I'm a big fan.
There's a big difference
I
though
know
between
everything about you.
there's a big difference between somebody coming up to me in the mall and maybe being like, "I recognize your voice.
Yeah.
Are you Jay from the Late for Supper podcast? I love your content. It is the
I
greatest
love
content
you.
out
You're
there."
so handsome.
Yeah, and I would be like, "Oh, why? Thank you." Um, and then I might be like, "Hey,
Why, thank you,
we're
Scarlett
seeing
Johansson.
next." Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Scarlett
I'm.
Johansson. You're pretty hot. And let's say we're gonna be
And
live on Wednesday,
she's like, "Are you available?" And
Wednesday
Jay's like,
nights,
"No, I'm sorry, my harem's full right
8:30.
now. I'll let you know if we have any openings."
Yeah, Scarlett
sorry,
Johansson.
sorry, Scarlett Johansson.
Sorry, but I don't need Disney suing me too. But
sorry,
yeah,
sorry, Ariana Grande took the last
but
spot.
I know
I'll see you
nothing
some other
about
time.
you.
Scarlett Johansson.
I know nothing about you.
No, but you're right. It is like it's super weird, but it's not real. Like
Yeah, and you see that at the end of Spider-Man because it's real for Peter. It's very real for Peter.
you see like Peter's like, "Oh my god, I love you. You don't know who I am."
Yes.
And it's awkward, and she kind of still has those emotions because emotions aren't memory.
You could see she, as a customer worker, she's trying to keep up the, like, happy face, but, like, charting on the inside. Like, what the fuck is going on with this weirdo?
Well, originally, but she does kind of have like, because I don't know, like memories aren't emotions, so you forget who Peter is, but not how you feel about him.
Mhm.
So she's like, "I love you too. I don't. Who are you? I love you too. Who are you?" I wonder if she remembers that she loves Spider-Man.
Just don't open that can of worms. This is probably another problem with the film.
Yeah, oh, that's so crazy. I mean, I don't necessarily know if it's a loophole, but there's definitely a bunch of weird things about
This film, it has a lot of issues in it, but it does a lot of
it's
good too.
visually stunning,
Hmm.
hilarious.
The character work is amazing, unless you're
There's
Doctor Strange.
there's so many movies that just like try to do the reference thing and they do it a little bit.
Especially
And
Marvel movies in Stage 4 of the MCU.
the only movie like just but the amount of reference, it's self-referencing by the way,
Hmm.
which is actually really good because like it's referencing, but it's referencing other Spider-Man
Yeah.
like IPs.
Well, yeah.
So it almost works.
I mean, this was directed by the same director who did the Far From Home and Homecoming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shows.
But like I don't know, Ready Player One's the only movie that I can think of that just has the amount of references in it,
Hmm.
and that movie was garbage. So it was really ambitious, and
I wish I could have seen more of this.
I'm not gonna say it's the greatest movie of all time.
Wait,
I
this
heard a lot of
movie?
people that were saying this movie is amazing. It's like one of the greatest movies of all time,
You
and I
you
wouldn't
hear
say
that
that.
every time there's a new movie that comes out, though.
Yeah, but this one I heard it a lot from like people that I'm like.
I heard that about Black Widow. A lot.
So, I saw that movie 3 times, not once intentionally. I never
That
wanted to
movie's
watch it.
horrible.
It was just on. It was so bad.
Mm-hmm. This
Yeah,
movie is really good.
This movie's amazing.
Out of 10, what would you give it? We'll do
Although
first
I
as a
feel like-
Marvel film and second as a film.
Oh, as a Marvel film?
We'll do 2 ratings. One as a Marvel film and one as
Okay, do you want to do it on a count of 3?
Well, do yours first, because I already know my numbers.
Well, as a Marvel film, it's a 9.9.
Okay.
This is... I mean, I don't love a lot of Marvel films. This is the greatest one I've ever seen.
Okay.
And I really like Marvel films. So
I
what's
could
your...
see that.
as a Marvel film?
As a Marvel film. Non-subjectively, I think. From a non-subjective standpoint, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. As a Marvel film.
As a Marvel
I
film, you
still
give it an 8
think-
out of 10?
Because I still think Infinity War, Avengers 2013, and Civil War are above this.
Dude, you must be tripping.
I probably am. This is definitely
Infinity
up there.
War?
Yes.
Infinity War was bad. Infinity War is like a 3 as a Marvel movie.
Endgame is like a 3. I think
Endgame
Infinity
is like
War
a-
is great.
Endgame is the worst. Endgame is sort of like this, except instead of doing all these amazing things like this movie did, they just like spit on every single character IP they owned.
We can argue Infinity War at a later time. I think it's really good. No.
So, yeah, well, no, it's not.
I
We both agree Endgame was bad though.
I do think though, all in all, that Civil War is possibly the best Marvel movie.
And
Bec-
I didn't like. I really didn't. I would. It's hard to rewatch.
I could agree. It's hard to rewatch, but it also did a lot really good in addressing the political side and 2 characters who have the same goal approaching a situation with 2 different, like, motivated by 2 different things and having different outcomes in their decision.
I would say that's actually not why I would give it a high score. I would say
Well,
I would
that's
give it
not
a
the
high
only
score
reason.
because it's really aware on who the characters are.
Well, yeah. And it's you're
Captain
able to have
America-
that plot because of how aware of the how.
Captain America isn't self-aware in the movie at all.
No.
Like if he understood that the only reason people were siding with him is because he's Captain America, then he wouldn't ask people to side with him.
Yeah.
He thinks that he's just as rational as Tony is.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is everyone's siding with Captain America because he's goddamn Captain America. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Tony has to appeal to people's like intellect in that movie.
But still, 8 out
And
of
they're-
10 is still
This,
really
this
fucking
as a
high.
Marvel movie,
That's still really fucking high up there. I would never give a film 9.9 like you did.
I would never give a movie a 10, but you said as a Marvel movie, and
Yeah,
that warps the scale.
it does. I would, even as a Marvel movie, I would never give something a 10. Well, this is one of the best. Maybe a 9 would be the highest rating I would give a Marvel movie. But I give it a solid 8.
You're right. This is a 9.5. I'm going to change it just because there's stuff that they could have easily done better to fix it. 9.5.
Pacing, definitely. Right there,
Pacing,
big problem.
They could have, like, tweaked a few decisions very small just to make the movie hit a little bit harder.
Yep.
Emotionally. So, you're right. You're absolutely right. 9.5 as a Marvel movie.
Subjectively.
As an action movie?
Subjectively as an action movie, I fucking loved it.
What do you think as an actual movie? You go first.
As an actual movie.
Yeah.
A 6.
I'm gonna give it a 7.9.
Almost an 8. So you're saying that this is like masterpiece level. Almost masterpiece level.
What are you talking about? It's not almost masterpiece level.
That is.
I think a 6 is average.
5 is average.
Well, here's the reason why I wouldn't say 5 is average, is because things can get so much worse than they can't get good.
On my scale, so my scale would be 10 would be the absolute perfect film. You couldn't possibly do anything better.
10 is perfect, and
nothing could ever reach a 10.
If you gave something a 4, it meant it was absolutely horrible. Anything below a 4, like if you gave something a 1, it meant it physically killed you.
I think 1 is absolutely broken in every way, shape, and form. Like, no, because TLJ, the Last Jedi on my scale is like a 3.
The Last Jedi on my scale is definitely a 4.2.
4.2.
It's better than a 4.2. The Last Jedi is a 5.
I'm giving it a 3.
Imagine The Last Jedi, except its budget was $7.
It could improve.
And they killed puppies.
Honestly,
they actively slit the throats of puppies.
That unironically could have been a better movie than The Last Jedi.
It absolutely could not. I'm not making jokes here.
I'm not either.
Here's the thing, Jay, is that in my opinion, if I really think about it, the perfect movie would be kind of similar to like, I mean, it'd be similar in production value to this. Visuals, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The worst movie of all time would literally kill me to watch. I'd have a heart attack. Okay. I would kill myself after watching the worst movie of all time.
When I'm watching a movie,
in order for me to give it a 10, it would have to convert me.
When I'm watching a movie, I also value plot and characters above all else. Like general writing. And the characters above anything else, because that is what those two things are what the entire story rides on.
Yeah, but here's the thing: writing can be perfect, but if the story's horribly misdirected, it can ruin it.
I agree with that.
It can be perfect on paper, but it could suck. You know what an example of that is? Of a movie that's just horribly misdirected, even though everyone's doing their best.
The Room.
The Great Gatsby. What's The Room? I've never seen The Room. The Great Gatsby.
You've never seen The Room with Tommy Wiseau.
I don't think so. Oh, maybe I have. I just don't recognize the name. Oh, okay. I know what movie you're talking about now.
Actually, I'm not going to play a trailer, but I'm going to...
I know the movie, though. I did not hit her. I did not. That movie?
To be fair, everyone in that movie tried their absolute hardest, and it was horrible. But, yeah.
I know exactly what movie you're talking about now. I'm sorry. I don't recognize it by name.
Okay. That movie's a meme.
Say, horribly misdirected. The Great Gatsby. I just watched it recently. And it was amazing.
It wasn't as good as the books.
The actors were doing incredible. The books were pretty bad too. The actors were doing amazing for what they were. Actually, you know who was in it? Tobey Maguire.
Oh yeah, he was.
the cinematography was beautiful. The director absolutely botched the movie. Because if you think about it, in the books, the main character is supposed to like be looking at what's happening from an outsider.
Yep.
And like just kind of be disgusted by like the bad lifestyles of these rich people.
Mm-hmm. And the movies play into that lifestyle.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, that's exactly.
I've seen the movies and I've read the books.
The movies make it seem like he's in awe of their lifestyle, and he's not. He's like looking at it, and he's like pissed at it. It makes him angry.
Because also, when I'm rating this movie as a movie, and not just as an MCU, I'm also considering all the issues in this movie that brings up stuff like with the TVA. The TVA is an active issue in this movie because it shares a franchise with Marvel or with Loki.
You don't know yet. Hold on. I would argue Loki hasn't ended yet, and Loki takes place years before, and it looks like the TVA is already crumbling.
Fair enough.
Okay, and I just want to we basically think the same thing of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
My scale just takes into account the fact that if I like literally kill myself while watching a movie,
yeah, I'm valuing plot opinion. And the
Why are you implying that I don't value plot?
No, hold on. I'm also saying that like the plot brings down my rating a lot.
Of this movie?
Yeah. Because unfortunately, the beginning being rushed and the problems with world building in the MCU bring down this movie a lot on my cinematic greatness scale.
And the thing is, I don't think those are problems.
Okay.
I feel like you're making assumptions and then like saying, well, this is a problem. And a lot of people do that sort of thing where it's like, if you don't know something, you just have to like say, I don't know. And if you don't know something, you can't like, you can't grade the movie down for it.
I'm trying to grade off stuff that is seen in other films or stuff like that.
You're the teacher that loses the kid's homework and then gives them a 0 because of it.
Fair. I do admit I am very harshly judging it. That's a very harsh judgment.
I'm harshly judging it too, but I'm not reaching. Like there's a lot of things while watching this movie that I just didn't appreciate.
Mm-hmm. I am reaching. I will admit that. I definitely am reaching with my criticism here. And I'm not afraid to do that because I strive for greatness.
Like there are some movies that like I'm sure you love and I hate.
Yeah, I could believe it too.
Infinity War is one of them. Mm-hmm. And some movies that I love that you hate. The Phantom Menace is one of them.
I don't hate the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, but it's the 4th best Star Wars movie of all time.
Okay, yeah, we could very much.
See, I know for you, it goes Empire.
Yes.
Return of the Jedi.
No.
A New Hope.
Empire.
Hope. A New Hope. Return of the Jedi, and then it goes Revenge of the Sith.
No, it goes Revenge of the Sith, and then New Jedi.
A New Hope.
It goes 5, 4, 3, 6. Now, before people get mad at me in the comment section or anything, I admit that there is a lot of problems with the 3rd episode. I just really like it.
We can talk about that some other time. We can rank all the Star Wars movies.
Absolutely. I really like it on like a subjective scale.
You know why? I used to, for the Phantom Menace, for me,
mm-hmm.
it's what always impresses me is that it's the best choreographed Star Wars movie.
I could agree with that.
It's got a lot of improvement.
One would be
the
nice.
Darth Maul fight alone. It also gives us the characters of the Jedi even without any dialogue. That fight, it gives us the difference between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Maul.
Mm-hmm.
But also, what really brings it up is that if like you're rating this movie on how it, like right now you're rating Spider-Man on how it interacts with other movies in the MCU, you're saying it causes these plot issues with the TVA.
Yeah,
and I think that's an absolutely, if it's part of a franchise, that's absolutely a fair way to rate movies.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I love the Phantom Menace.
Mm-hmm.
Because Maul is the greatest villain in Star Wars, hands down.
I think Star Wars or Episode 1 is the 4th best.
He has a reoccurring plot, and it goes into the Clone Wars and into Rebels,
Mm-hmm.
where he wants revenge on Kenobi for taking his legs.
Yeah.
And it is a TV masterpiece.
It is a great
Wow.
plot, I will admit. But
That's
I
amazing.
do
Like,
not like that they brought him back. I'm just sad.
you
Like,
know,
yeah, I think he should have stayed dead. But with
I
the
disagree.
decision to bring him back, they executed well on it.
No, I disagree because he's so awesome that they just need to bring him back.
Okay.
Darth Maul radiates awesomeness, so they had
He
no other
does.
choice.
He does.
Like, I mean, nowadays everyone and their mother has a unique lightsaber. Maul and that double blade. Oh.
It's sad that they're also bringing back the double blade with other people.
I think it's fair for some people to have it. Like, it's a certain type of fighting style.
Mhm.
But I'll always think of Maul.
Yeah, like Maul iconicized that.
Like, even if I bought some Dr. Squatch soap, me and Gabe are right there. I bought the Star Wars edition.
Mhm.
Okay, so they had 4 iconic characters on them: 2 light side, 2 dark side. So obviously they had Yoda and Obi-Wan, and then the villains were Vader and Maul. Ugh.
Yeah.
Those guys are in the same league. I mean, Vader's more powerful, but
I think Vader is better than Maul. Sorry.
Vader's intimidating. Like if you ever played that, there's this VR Star Wars game called, God, what's it called? Something Vader Imperial or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
But you have to realize that Vader is like 6'7", so if you're standing in the VR goggles and you're 5'8", he towers over you. He is intimidating, and you have that, like, his breathing.
Yeah.
So, if you execute Vader properly, he is horrifying. But Maul just radiates this badass villain energy that Vader doesn't. Vader's the silent general. He's powerful. He's his strength. But Maul is like,
Mm-hmm.
if Vader's like a really tall, intimidating mountain,
I've always
Maul's
liked though with Vader
Maul's
is
like a forest fire.
Vader knows he's powerful, and he doesn't ever feel like he needs to prove it.
I mean, he kind of does.
And at first, I would say in like when he's
He chokes that
changing.
one guy. He chokes that lieutenant.
Yeah, because he had no reason. He had no need for him anymore. In episode
Although,
3, when he first becomes Vader, he's definitely trying to show it. He's trying to prove himself.
Well, yeah. To be fair to Vader, when he choked out that lieutenant, he wasn't defending himself. He was defending the Force.
Yes.
Which, talk about a guy will defend his religion, won't even defend himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vader exudes power.
Yes. I think Vader is better than Maul, characterization-wise, but I do think Maul is
right, because
Maul
Vader has
is
a lot more time to
badass.
develop.
Yes.
Maul is
badass.
a character. He's not a very silent villain. He wants revenge.
Yes. Anyway, we are getting a little bit off topic, and
let's just finish up the episode.
I think we should.
I didn't say what I thought of it as a movie. Oh, I did. 7.9.
Yeah.
7.9 because I think 6 is the average. Movies can get worse and they can get better.
Oh, so then our rating scale is probably roughly the same then. If I'm rating it a 6, and 5 being average, and 7.9, and yours is rating average at 6.
Wait, that's what I was trying to explain to you a long time ago.
Okay, so then yeah.
Well, yeah, I was trying to explain to you. Like, I bet at a certain point you would just be like, well, that's not a movie anymore, so I wouldn't rate it like that.
Like Batwoman, or
if you took a 3-hour-long footage of a dog poop, just like in the moonlight, I'd be like, yeah, that's like a 2. No, that's not even a 2.
Like
that's
a
2.
3. Yeah.
In my opinion, that's a 3. That's a 3.
Yeah, my scale is like a little bit more linear, of 1 being absolutely non-existent plot and story and everything, and then 10 being an absolute masterpiece that couldn't ever be improved upon in any way.
Yeah, so I say, if I kill myself, it's a 1. And if I ascend into heaven, that's a 10.
Okay.
And
so Lord of the Rings is a 10.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King is a 9.5, just as a movie.
I have them as like 9s out of 10, so yeah. I could never rate
The Princess Bride is a 9.7.
Unfortunately, my only complaint about Lord of the Rings would be, why were the elves at Helm's Deep?
Why weren't they?
Or why were they? Because they
I
shouldn't
don't know.
have been
You
there.
got a good point.
They shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, they should have been.
Only issue.
They should have been.
Well,
They should
there
have
were
been
a
nuked a
couple
long
others.
time ago. The elves are a menace. All right, let's finish up this episode. This is
Okay.
ridiculous.
So yeah, this movie, I'd say it's just above average. It's got a lot going for it. Really entertaining. Really fun to watch. Go check it out. The characters are great. Some tisms with the plot. You know how it is.
All right.
Yeah, and I guess we'll all see you all next week when we watch. And peace.
Do you have any ideas for next week?
No, but we'll think of something.
Skin color tier list. Have a good night, everyone.